Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Getting to Know You. I am Jen Dawson, and I am joined by our PeDRA Fellow, Morgan Dykman. She is a third-year medical student at the University of Minnesota, and she has been involved in many research projects. She has been working underneath the mentorship of Dr. Jillian Rork and is very passionate about pediatric dermatology. So thank you so much for being with us, Morgan.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
So Morgan, you are a third year. You're relatively very early in your training, but I know that you have a very deep passion for pediatric dermatology. Where does that come from?
Yeah, so it started during my gap years in Park City, Utah, where I worked at the National Ability Center. While I was there, I coached adaptive skiing, and the whole idea was to build confidence through sport. But what I found was my athletes might be getting better at skiing, but they still were annoyed that, they had acne or they had alopecia. And I don't know if you've been to the Special Olympics, but they have an athlete like dance. And my 16-year-old boys with Down syndrome still wanted to get the girls and, look good. And their skin issues were really getting in the way of that. And then we had athletes with all different very rare genetic disorders coming through the National Ability Center that really limited them in terms of clothing and things for skiing, and all different things like that.
So through this, work that you were doing, you were kind of able to set aside just the sports aspect and then really focus in on like that stigma of skin diseases that's happening, which is really maybe what brings a lot of kids into a clinic in the first place, is they're just feeling so badly about themselves and their appearance, let alone concerned parents who are worried about underlying conditions and greater concerns, right? So I think it's really special you were able to kind of have gleaned that as your main takeaway in working with those children. So where do you see this passion for yourself in the future? Where are you going?
Yeah, it's a good question. My hopes is to ultimately go back to Utah and be able to be my past athlete's physician. And I've seen it through research and just through my athletes, that the transition of care of pediatric to adult care is just awful. And it would be really great if I could be their physician when they were younger and then all the way through adulthood so we don't have to deal with that transition of care.
So that's pretty exciting. You've kind of already identified your niche in so
Mm.
early in your training as well. That's really cool.
Yeah, and I feel really lucky that PeDRA was able to give me a mentor who also shares that same niche. So it's been fun.
Yeah, so talk about your mentorship with Dr. Rourke. I know the two of you work really well together, and I know you're learning a lot working with her. So talk to us a little bit about that. What makes that mentoring relationship so special to you?
Yeah, so I think what made it so special initially was I came to the University of Minnesota's dermatology department and I said that, this is my passion. I know it might not be something that's even happening. I don't know if anyone even does work on this, but this is what I'm interested in. Do you know anyone? And Dr. McGinnis said, we don't have someone doing that work here, but I know exactly who I need to connect you with. And it was Dr. Rourke. And from there, I think what made mentorship with her so special is she didn't just say okay, here's a project. She said, okay, come up with a Google Doc of all your ideas and we'll go from there. And so I think it's really important as a medical student to come up with your own ideas because we will be researchers someday and it all starts with an idea. And I really like that Dr. Rourke asked me what I thought, which was one of the first times as a medical student that happened. I feel like so often we're just kind of lectured at, told things, but she wanted to hear from me. And so that's what I think mentorship with Dr. Rourke is so special.
That's great. I mean, she's got so much wonderful energy, and I think she is really wonderfully suited to help young trainees like yourself really kind of hone in on those ideas and those things that are important to us. So are there any research projects that the two of you are working on right now that you could talk about?
Yeah, so I think the study I'm most excited about that was kind of born out of our Down syndrome subgroup and just our mentor mentee relationship is looking at quality of life in people with Down syndrome, which has never been done before, which is really cool because there's only so many validated surveys out there for looking at like the dermatologic impact on quality of life, and they've never been used with the Down syndrome population. And so we'll see what we find. But I think what this will more than anything highlight is that we need validated surveys for people with Down syndrome to express how they feel and like what they experience as patients.
That's so interesting. I can't wait for the results when you publish. Sounds like a really great study.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And I'm just excited to like hand them the mic and let them share kind of what they've been experiencing.
Absolutely. It's so important.
For all we know, it might work just fine for them, and we won't have to adapt it at all. But we also might see that there's gaps, and then I guess my project for residency will be to create a study for people who maybe like aren't your typical patient.
Okay, so transitioning a little bit now, you are PeDRA's fellow for the 2022-23 year, right? So talk to me a little bit about your role as the fellow and what you're doing to support PeDRA.
Yeah, so this year the fellow position kind of changed from social media, more of from a social media focus to more of like a membership support focus. And so when you apply to be a PeDRA mentor or register for the conference or anything like that, I'm the one answering and inputting all of your information on PeDRA's end with the help of Heather. And then I also am helping with the EDI committee, helping organize meetings, taking notes. I also provide that same support for the executive committee. And then as well, I help provide like research on PeDRA's members, seeing how we're doing. One study that's going to be presented at the conference for the first time will be looking at the interconnectivity of PeDRA members. So that'll be cool.
Wow, tell me more about that.
Yeah, so this study, we wanted to see like the title is The Network at Work.
Mm.
And so we're really looking to see like, I've experienced like the networking power of PeDRA, but we wanted to see like how well that works for other people and really like seeing the interconnectedness that has been happening from the time people were residents. And so we're looking at, say we take one member, like are they connected to another member via a study? Are they also connected via a publication? Also a fellowship, also residency. And so it's you just kind of see that we all know the field of pediatric dermatology is small, but you kind of see the strength of that smallness and how our network is just so robust.
That is so cool. It's like our very own 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, only
Yeah.
PeDRA style.
Yeah.
I love it. I cannot wait to see that presentation at the meeting. So speaking of the meeting, what are you most excited about?
Oh, I think I'm excited for the workshop. I know Dr. Huang is running a workshop, and um, we just have a lot of really fun activities that I think members will like because no one's just gonna like sit there and listen. I feel like everything is so engaging and interactive, which I can appreciate.
I'm so excited for the meeting too. There's going to be so much great work happening in the work group breakout sessions and the skill building activities. I really can't wait to see everybody. So speaking of the conference, while we're there, we'll be kicking off our upcoming year of the new mentorship cycle, of which you are a part of as a mentee with Dr. Rork, like we've discussed. So we have a lot of medical students that are mentees this year, and it's very exciting to see so many people so excited about pediatric dermatology so early on. And I know you have a great passion for mentorship and sponsorship. So, what kind of wisdom can you share, maybe to our early medical students, first and second years, about making the most out of their mentoring relationships?
The first thing is to realize just your mentor has a wealth of knowledge, and a lot of our mentors are so humble that they might not immediately like share with you everything. And so you really have to like ask and ask for, you know, could you help me work on this skill? Like identify skills in yourself that you want to work on. And then more than anything, you should look for opportunities for the both of you. And so like for example, Dr. Work and I got a grant through the AAD Good Community Skin Project, and I just brought it to her and I was like, "Could we do this?" And she immediately said yes, and then we did it. And so I think that's a really special thing that a lot of in the mentee mentor relationship, you can forget like that you also can bring ideas to the table, kind of like I said previously. And so if there's something you really want to do or you see an opportunity, don't be afraid to bring it to your mentor. Half the time, you know, they see all these opportunities, they come all the time in dermatology. And so we just all have to pay attention and then just bring them forward. And now you have like an awesome coach to coach you through that project that you came up with. So I think that's my advice is to bring forward your ideas and don't be afraid.
I really like that you use the term coach. I think it maybe makes the idea of mentorship a little less intimidating. I know some mentees can feel intimidated by their mentor, but really the whole point of that relationship is to, push the intimidation aside and as you said, just bring forward ideas. And I think that the word coach really kind of illustrates that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think th- it's like this invisible boundary between like mentee mentor, and you can absolutely like break through that. I think a perfect example of this is I remember when I was first emailing Dr. Rourke, I said, hello, Dr. Rourke, blah, 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 whatever. And she said, Morgan, can you call me like Jillian? We're colleagues, we're collaborators. And um I I do think that casualness for me and I think for her helps like break down that wall. And so just knowing that you really are colleagues and someday you will be a pediatric dermatologist and um, you can start that collaboration and bringing your ideas to the table now.
Oh, I love that. I love the message in there that is like kind of really work with your mentor to figure out where your boundaries are and where your level of comfort lies on that scale of casualness. And I think that's really special. I think that's a really great way of looking at the relationship and sort of tackling that and then everybody can feel comfortable in it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know it made a huge difference for me even, and then it also allows you to start like it's important I think too to just like say like, "Oh, what are you doing in life? Like what are your hobbies? Like what are this?" Because all of those small things make you feel more connected to each other.
I agree completely. And that is a perfect segue to my next and final question. Tell us a little bit more about you and your hobbies. What makes you happy on the weekends when you're not studying and rounding?
Yeah. Well, a lot of things. I'm really fortunate that there's a lot to do in Minnesota. So we do a lot of mountain biking here. And then prior to moving here for medical school, like I said, I was in Utah. And so whenever I can, I try to get out backcountry skiing. My twin sister still lives there. And so I try to go back as much as I can. But in Minnesota, you can catch me mountain biking or running around the lakes.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Where was your favorite place to do your backcountry hiking in Utah?
I think the backcountry skiing is best in the Little Cottonwood Canyon. And so, well, actually, my biggest accomplishment would be my boyfriend and I are trying to cover the like top 50 descents. And so we skied one called Terminal Cancer in the Ruby Mountains, which was very cool. I'll have to send you pictures.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Wow. That sounds amazing. That's quite the name for a run.
I know, I know. Yeah, it definitely, yeah, it's kind of morbid, but it definitely was scary. Terminal cancer is scary.
Yeah, yeah. Did you feel a sense of victory when you completed it upright?
Yes. Yeah, I did. And then I was like, okay, like check, never again.
Yeah. Moving on, next.
hmm Mhm.
Oh, well, Morgan, thank you so much for joining me on Getting to Know You. We are delighted to have you as our PeDRA Fellow, and we so appreciate all the hard work you're putting into the network, into your relationships, into this community. We are so happy to have you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, and I'm excited to meet everyone at the conference.
Yay, I can't wait. Thank you so much to Morgan Dykman for joining me on Getting to Know You. For more Getting to Know You, please be sure to visit www.pedraresearch.org/GTKY. This is our final episode in Season 2 of Getting to Know You. If you haven't listened to all of Season 2 or even Season 1, you can check us out in our podcast channel, PeDRA Getting to Know You, available on Spotify, iTunes, and Google. And join us when we're back in January with Season 3.